started and then we'll pick up. And the reason I'm going to get it started is because I probably know more about the early Rotary, and I mean early Rotary, than most of it, all of it. I'm going to show you something. Rotary was started by Mr. Hal Martin, Dr. Hal Martin. Nobody here probably remembers. Do any of it? Jerry Brewer says he does. I remember. Well, we don't get y'all. He was a Baptist minister in San Antonio. He was a go-getter. People remember him. He couldn't see very well, and he had to sort of look like this book. But he was a fine gentleman that everybody loved in town. But he was a go-getter, like I said. And he was the one who started the San Antonio Rotary Club in 1936. I understand that he was the instigator for this club, sponsoring Mars and maybe 2 or 3 other Rotary clubs in North Mississippi, all on Dr. Hal Martin's time in Rotary. Rotary met at the Moore Hotel. Moore Hotel was my grandmother and granddaddy's place, my grandmother's place. Daddy, Papa didn't do much, but Mama Moore, she ran a boarding house and got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and cooked breakfast and all sorts of things like that. But this is the Moore Hotel. This is a picture of it. It was at the top of Front Street. You know where Front Street is? You go straight up and you got used to be an Indian up there. And that's where the elementary school is now.
Junior high.
Huh?
Junior high.
Junior high. Right at the top of the hill. And this was the hotel that was there. It had 8 bedrooms. It had 2 dining rooms. And it was just a great big old boarding house. And when I say boarding house, I mean boarding house. You know what I mean? It wasn't fancy at all. That's where the Rotary met. And it started in 1936. And the Rotary continued there until about 1956, when my grandmother just played out and had to quit. And then that building was torn down and the Rotary had to move. But my recollection of Rotary, my daddy and mother lived across town and they had 1 child, me, and we ate at the Moore Hotel. They had you could eat there, breakfast, done and supper. A lot of people had a big deal to do on Sunday, but this is talking about Rotary. And I remember when I was 4, 6, 7 years old, something like that, 8 years old, I would go, I ate there every day. And when school started, I went back and forth across to the elementary school. But the main thing is, I remember a whole bunch of men on Friday, and it seemed like they all had on black suits. Now, I don't know whether they did or not, but it seemed like they all had on black suits. And I would run and go in between them to get back to eat. And that was Rotary. Ding Hopper Wells was the treasurer. Any of y'all remember Ding Hopper Wells?
He was a secretary, Kurt.
All right, they said he was a secretary. He was a treasurer too, because if you came in and were a guest, he took your money. So I call that the treasurer as well as the secretary. But he did that for a number of years, did he not?
Oh, yeah, he was a professional secretary.
Yeah, he did it for a long time. And he had a card table.
Got his meals free.
He did. Dale says he got his meals free. I didn't know that. But right inside the door to the dining room was a card table, and he sat at that card table. And that's where Rotary went. So Rotary went there and stayed. Dr. Hal Martin sort of led the singing, didn't he? And Ms. Martin played the piano. They had a piano in there. And Dr. Martin he'd lead the singing. They'd sing like a wild Indian, man. It was good.
He wrote a Rotary prayer.
Huh?
He wrote a song called the Rotary Prayer.
A song called the Rotary Play. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But anyway, they had singing and a piano, and as long as Dr. Martin was able, and Ms. Martin was the pianist, Rotary was on good. He was doing fine as far as I know. That's all I know about it. From 36 up until about 56, when we graduated from high school. And then after that, we didn't know much about it until about 1962. Now, Rotary moved from the Moore Hotel when my grandmother played out, and when the they sold it to the school, and the school tore the house down and built the school in about 1958 or 1960, right in there. And then
Went to the community center.
Buck says we went to the community center first,
3 years, and then to the Sandman.
and then to the Sandman. We'll get to that in just a minute. And a lot of you never don't have a clue what the Sandman is or where it was. Some of you do, some of you don't. It's where the bank called South is, out there on the corner. You know where the intersection is? It was a motel. And in the front, it had a dining room and a restaurant, and Ms. Mitchell ran it. And Ms. Mitchell had real good food for a while. And Ms. Mitchell sort of played out. And then Greg took over. And one thing led to another, and we finally moved. But I don't know, up until about 1975, we were still out there in 1975, because I was district governor in 75, and we had the district conference here. And we had the registration, it was $5. That's what we made the registration. If you came from Tupelo and wanted to register for the Rotary conference, $5. Now it's probably $200. But anyhow, they registered, and we had a banquet at the Ramada Inn, and down at Gulf Trail Lodge. It had a band, and we had a big time on Friday night. Northwest provided the facilities for us to have our program, and this time it was a 2-day program. Big deal back then. 300 people came. I don't know how many come now, but not that many. But Rotary was big deal then, and they would come and what have you. Northwest had the program, and then on Saturday night at the Ramada, we had a banquet again, didn't we, Buck? The going away banquet kind of thing, and thanked everybody and gave out prizes and things to the different clubs for what they had done. We had 42 clubs in the district, 680. 680 is now 6,800 instead of 68. 680 is 6,800, but anyway, it's same district. It's North Mississippi and Memphis. Memphis had one club with 500 members. You don't think they're having to go up there and speak to those 500 members? It's sort of intimidating when there are a lot of hot shots up there, and they had it on the radio, and I don't know what all. It was a big deal. I sort of scared to get out. But anyway, now they got 4 or 5 Rotary clubs in Memphis. They got East Memphis and Central Memphis and Germantown and all. They got a bunch of them. But that was 1975. We have not had a district governor since then, and we need one. We're entitled to one. We got some folks that are highly qualified to be one, but they won't do it. Peter. Peter Herbert. And others, Bob Beecham was. A lot of you qualify, but you have to go speak to every club in the district and that kind of stuff, and some folks don't want to do that. But anyhow, it's time consuming. But anyway, where was it? About our Rotary Club. Our Rotary Club, as I remember, Frank Gibbons was the district governor a couple of years ago from Southaven. Bill Darnell was going to be the district governor from this club when he got transferred, a job changed, to go to Nashville. And therefore, he couldn't be district governor, so we didn't have that. And we tried to get Bob Mitchell to be district governor one time, and he didn't want to do it. So anyway, if any of you have an interest in that, it's high time. It's been 35 years, 37 years since this club had a district governor, and we probably ought to. But that's neither here nor there. We'll move on. Y'all got some things to tell y'all. Let me just sit down here. Y'all you talk.
Let me tell y'all how much I appreciate Paul taking the time to let us talk a little bit about the history of the Rotary Club. I got in the Rotary Club in 1960 when Jerry Brewer's daddy